it's about challah bread, how to make it, how to add an inspiring touch to it, and how to bless your family at the same time. I'm using a recipe today that came from Artza. Artza has just released a box called their Genesis box, and it is so filled with so many just great details to remind us of Genesis, the book of beginnings, the beginning of that relationship. And so this recipe I'm using today is straight from their Genesis box. I have 2.5 cups of warm, just warm water, warmer than the temperature. I can stick my finger in it, it's not hot. And so 2.5 cups of warm water. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of yeast and then 1 tablespoon of sucanat. Now, if you don't have sucanat, you can use a sweetener of choice. Sucanat, it just means sugarcane natural, a dried sugarcane without the heavy processing and without the crystallization. It's just a very natural alternative. All right, so I'm just going to mix this up. And it needs to sit about 10 minutes. We need it to become kind of frothy, so I'm just going to set that aside. Next, we're going to mix up 2 sides of our ingredients. One is going to be our dry ingredients, and the other is going to be our liquid, and then we'll combine them. Now, if you want to bake accurately, if you've ever heard that word before, when you're dealing with flour, typically in America, we use measuring cups. You want 5 cups of flour. Well, 5 cups of flour in one recipe, if you tamp that down, you could actually end up with more flour than you should. And you're like, why is this so hard to mix? Because you did the measuring cup. Now, if you want to be an accurate baker, you would weigh your flour and weigh many of your ingredients. So today we're going to do 2.5 pounds of flour. And so I have my scale out. And yes, I still use the old-fashioned scale, because I like it. I've had several of the electronic ones and the ones that, you can just hook up to your phone, hook up to your wall outlet. I mean, so many ways. But this has always been the most accurate. All I have to do is just adjust the back. So you can see I'm not even 2.5 pounds. So this is going to hold quite a lot. Now the flour I'm using today is a blend. I blended some spelt, kamut, and hard white. To me, it makes the most delicious baked goods ever. Right now we are at 1 pound, and as you can see, that's all I can hold in this. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this and drop it in my mixing bowl. And now I need 1.5 pounds more. Now I've already added the 2 pounds, and now as you can see, I've got 8 ounces more, so I'm going to add the last ½ pound. That gives me 2.5 pounds of flour, and this is a very accurate way of making sure your bread turns out the same every single time. Now, part of our dry ingredients, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of salt. I only ever use Redmond's real salt just because there are some really good Celtic brands out there and some Himalayan brands, but with Redmond's, I always know I have the perfect salt and I don't have to question if they've changed the recipe. To this, I'm adding a ½ cup of sucanat. So I just want to blend that really well to make sure the salt is thoroughly mixed into all of the flour. And this is a lot of flour, so this is going to make really 2 good loaves of challah bread. One for you and your family, one to put in the freezer, or one to share. Now we're going to mix our wet ingredients, which includes 2 eggs. And these are fresh from my friend's chickens, and so I never have to worry about an egg shortage, or do I have to worry about the egg prices. And to this, you can add honey. I'm actually using some maple syrup. I just have a lot of maple syrup on hand, so maple syrup, honey, they're very interchangeable. And I'm using 2 tablespoons of my sweetener. To this, I'm then going to add my olive oil. Now, this recipe calls for 3/4 cup of olive oil. And because we have so much flour, you can understand why. I'm not used to adding this much oil into my breads, but I'm anxious to see how this turns out.
Struggling with cravings, fatigue, or confusion about your health? You're not alone. But you don't have to stay stuck. Get the free Bible Health ebook and discover 7 powerful steps to real, lasting transformation God's way. Break emotional eating. Learn what truly satisfies. Align your health with God's truth. This is your breakthrough. Download now and reclaim your God-designed health.
So I'm going to add in 3/4 of a cup of olive oil. Yeah, it is a lot. I'm not used to adding that much oil into my bread. And now we can see that our yeast mixture is getting bubbly and frothy. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this in as well. One thing you always want to make sure of, that you never leave out the salt. Of all of the ingredients that you can mistakenly goof up, salt should not be one of them. It will be inedible. All right, now we're going to mix the two. So I'm just going to make a well here and just start mixing in my liquids. So, okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and put this on my counter and knead this all together. Now, as I learned when I was visiting the Jerusalem Prayer Center, is that as you're kneading it, this is your time to pray over your family. And if you've got some frustrations with your family, this is a real good time to work that out. It is so much, I mean, yes, I could do this in my Bosch mixer, but sometimes you just need to get into the work of it and be praying. So as you pull it together and start mixing it, just be praying about the different people in your family. I wrote about these prayers in my book, Satisfied, Baking with Whole Grains. I explained the prayer to you there, along with my challah bread in that cookbook. That cookbook, it's kind of my favorite go-to. I just put all the collection of all my favorite recipes for making bread in that cookbook. So you can see, even though it was a lot of oil, we don't have too much liquid. And because we weighed our flour, we should have the perfect combination and the perfect ratio of liquids to dry ingredients. And yeah, I do use keep my rings on. I know, you should probably take them off. All right, so now I have my dough kneaded, and I'm just gonna place it underneath this bowl. It's kind of a tent to keep the warmth in there. And I just coated it with a little bit of olive oil so that as it starts to touch the sides of the bowl, I wanna be able to get it out, release it easily. So now I'm just really gonna let this sit and rise for about 2 hours. And then we'll come back and get to the next step. As you can see, our dough has risen. It is so ready to be worked with. It looks beautiful. So I'm just going to dust my hands and dust my countertop. The pans I'm going to be using are the USA pans. They are so my favorite. Now, a lot of people have asked, we're becoming a lot more concerned about what the coating is on our cookware, which is really good. I'm glad everyone's starting to ask more questions. And definitely everything they use in the coating, so that I don't have to put any coating on the pan, it always releases well, is very safe. It's not going to have any of the chemicals that we're trying to avoid, or any of the aluminum. So here we go. We're going to cut this now in, we want 4 braids. So I'm going to cut it right down the middle. And then I'm going to divide each half. Again, if I were to use my scale, that way I would determine if each piece was exactly the same weight, and I would have a very, pretty much consistent braiding and consistent pieces. Once I have that, this one's a little bit more than this one, so I'm going to move that there. Then I just want to make long strands. Again, this is the recipe from the Arza collection, and this quarter of the year, they have a box that comes out once a quarter, and it always has delicious food samples. This one had some chocolates. It also has some Java coated peanuts and just some other delicious treats. But then they also have things that they're artisans from Israel, and many of them from the towns that are being greatly affected by the war right now. They have artisans who create beautiful wall hangings. This one is just a kind of a mosaic of Genesis in the first 7 days. This is all from the Genesis box. The candles that you could use, now the candles didn't come with it, this was from another collection, but the candle holder you could put on your table and use that for your Sabbath. celebration. So I want some long strands here. And this is actually, I could have divided this up and turned this into 2 loaves. But instead, I'm just going to have one long, nice loaf. There we go there. There's my first strand. Now let me do it again. And again, I'm just doing it all by hand. I don't really need any special tools. Not that I don't like my tools, I do. I like to have fun in the kitchen. And, you know, as God provides different tools and accessories, then I consider that a blessing. So again, I'm just going to make 4 strands, and we're going to do a 4-strand braid. You can do a 3, which is very simple. You can do a 4, you can do a 5, even up to a 6-strand braid. I'm not that good to do a 6-strand braid. So we're just going to do the 4. All right, so here we have our 4. So what we want to do is start by bringing the 4 together, just bringing all 4 ends together here, like that. And yeah, these are extremely fat. I really should have divided this into 2 loaves, and it would have made a little bit easier to work with. So I'm just going to kind of stretch them out a little bit. Okay, so what we want to do is, the way I see it is we kind of want to create kind of like a person figure. So we have this one coming over like that, and this one coming over like that, and then this one coming down. And you can see that we've got a beautiful looking braid. Okay, so now I'm just going to bring this one back down the middle, and this one across, and then we're just going to tuck that in, push them down really hard, tuck them in, and then I'm just going to scrunch it up. And then I'm going to put them on my pan. Again, because I'm using the USA pans, I don't have to grease the pan or spray it. And I could use parchment paper, but I really don't need to. But if you feel better using parchment paper, that's totally okay. Okay, so now I'm going to paint it with an egg wash. And you could use just the egg whites, and it will give a more transparent glaze to it, and it will be beautiful. But if you want to go ahead and use the entire egg, which I do because then I've got a yolk that I'm kind of wasting anyway. So I go ahead and use the entire egg. So I got it mixed up there. And then I'm just going to do, it's called a wash. So I'm going to paint the entire loaf with this. So the difference is just the egg white, you get a nice glaze, a transparent glaze. With the egg yolk, I get a little bit more of a darkening. And I like the darkening look. Now you can also use water. And if you do water, you actually will get a crisper crust. We're going to let this rise for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to bake it at 350. All right, we have a beautiful wash there. Now comes the best part. So part of the Genesis box from Artza, it came with this challah, this mixture for challah bread coating. Now you could definitely, I haven't opened it yet, so let's see how easy this opens up. Okay, that was easy. All right, good. So it's got a nice container, and then a bag on the inside, clamped very well. So it's going to be airtight. There's my clamp to use again. And then there we go. So I'm just going to sprinkle this on the bread. And knowing, oh wow, I wish you were here. This smells amazing. Boy, I could just sit here and sniff this. It smells really good. I'll tell you in a minute what all is in it. But just knowing that this mixture was grown in Israel, it was prepared by people in Israel recently. So you know that just using these, I can just be praying over the people in Israel. By buying the Artza box, I can be supporting them. And just like, oh Lord, you are there in the midst of them, in the middle of this war. They're still in war. And even when there's not war, they are always still countries are always trying to intimidate them. But yet God is greater, and God has a purpose for the people of Israel. Let me burp all that air out. and close this back up. And remember, so that's a large amount of seasonings, and it could be used on, any type of bread that you're cooking. You could use it on top of casseroles for a flavoring there. Now, let's see what all is in this that I just put on the bread. So this includes some brown sesame seeds, white sesame seeds, black sesame seeds. It has some fried garlic. It has fried onion, rosemary leaves, thyme, salt, hyssop. We know what hyssop is used for in Scripture. Black cumin seeds. The health benefits of those are amazing. Flax seeds, dried oregano, dried garlic, and savory. All right, I'm in love. I have just found my love spice for the week. And all right, I'm going to let this rise for about 30 minutes. Now, while I'm just going to cover it up with some saran wrap, which actually creates kind of a proofing tent and allows it to keep the moisture and the heat inside. And I'll turn my oven on to 350 to get that warming up, and then 30 minutes from now we should be able to put this in the oven. Well, here is our challah bread. I just know it's going to delight your taste buds and also your heart, just knowing that we too can be, like it says in Acts 2, breaking bread and fellowshipping and having prayer together. Well, I pray your Sabbath is so delightful, or just any day of the week. Definitely enjoy this with your family. Have a delicious soup and salad and perfect meal. Perfect way to say today is an amen day. Be sure and check out our Biblical Nutrition Academy. All of our courses are there. The Bible diet is there. All of it is there ready to serve you. Thanks for watching and letting me serve you God's recipe for excellent health.
Struggling with cravings, fatigue, or confusion about your health? You're not alone. But you don't have to stay stuck. Get the free Bible Health ebook and discover 7 powerful steps to real, lasting transformation God's way. Break emotional eating. Learn what truly satisfies. Align your health with God's truth. This is your breakthrough. Download now and reclaim your God-designed health.
Are you ready to have more fun in life and not be plagued with sickness and tiredness? Are you ready to take back your health and the health of your family? There is nothing more refreshing than seeing your health be transformed, and not just temporary. Let's make your health a living transformation. Therefore, at the Reclaim Retreat, we see transformations happen as soon as you arrive at this anointed place, a sacred space where God is at work and you can truly rest in His presence. Join a community of like-minded individuals ready to reclaim their health, their joy, and their God-given purpose. Come be refreshed, be renewed, be transformed. Spots are limited. Save yours today and reclaim what God has already promised you.